Hello guys, and welcome back to another tiny tutorial. And in this video I want to show you how you can do a default material when you want to poly paint your creatures in ZBrush. And like you can see, I have a material on here which I normally use when I sculpt my creatures, and it's the Zbrush clay set, one of these, and I really love sculpting with this. But the thing is, when you're doing poly paints, then you need a different kind of material to see the true colors which you put on. So we need something more brighter and more smoother than this here, and of course without a color, because this one has a little bit of brownish muddy colors, and we really don't want that in our skin color, right? So we need to do the poly paint on a different material. So one thing of course you can do is searching around for some poly paint materials, and I have one, for example, here. It's the Zbrush paint, and you can see it is really bright and white and soft. So whatever color you put on here, it will really look good. But when you don't have any kind of specific material downloaded, then you can also have this effect with a default material in ZBrush, and I will show you how to do that really quick. So I normally use the default material Sketch Shaded 2, and you can see it is really bright, but it has these weird cavity things going on around the head, and it is kind of good because you can see all the little details here on the head compared to all the bigger ones, but it would be a little weird to paint on that, so we need to get rid of it. And we can do that by just open the material thing here and then open the modifier thing. So here are a bunch of different kind of options you can play around with, and I really can recommend doing that when you want to make different kind of materials on your own. But we only need a few of them. So the first thing we need to do is having a look of the colors here, because if you're going to the white, then it looks a little bit weird to paint on that, because nothing in nature is bright white, completely white, you know? So the best thing is you can just go down a little bit to a more grayish tone, because this will affect our colors a lot when you're going with the whitest white on earth. So it is really good to go more into a little grayish white. Another thing you can do to not affect the whiteness of the skin, you can go to the color section here and just fill the object with the color. And now whatever you're doing, you don't affect the white color of the skin. I really like going with a white color first and not any other colors, because then I have more freedom to try out different kind of colors. So then we're going back to the material modifiers. So one thing we really need to do is getting rid of these cavity things which are going on here. And the best thing you can do is going here to the intensity A and going down. And you can see how soft it will be, right? The cavity is going away slowly. And it depends on what you want, but I would say like going with this. So it already looks way more softer to paint on, right? If you go a little bit more into the softness, you can go here on the cavity detection and move that down as well. You can see here, especially here in this place, when I go down, it will slowly disappear. So what we want is, we want to see a little bit of the details so we can work with that when we are poly painting, but we don't want to make it like this, right? Because this is the worst you can paint on. So going back here and having a little bit of details here. And another thing you can do is going here to the monochromatic A and B and setting this on 1. And what it does is it desaturates the colors a little bit when you're painting on it. It depends on what you want to achieve in the end. If you really want to have a bright colored saturated creature, then you can leave it on 0. But I would always go a little bit of desaturating to make it more natural. So setting this on 1 would be fine. And then we also have the depth here. I set this on 1 as well, because it will affect the cavity colors when you render your creature. It gets more into a depth when you're setting this higher up. So this is actually the only thing we have to do. You also can play around with this button here. If you want your material more in a coloring in a coloring way, then you can put here a little bit of color. You can see it gets a little bit reddish instead of white. We can go more in the bluish thing. It depends on what you like. But I would prefer just being on the grayish white to not affect the colors which you're painting on, because when you have a creature who is blue for most of the parts, but then your material has a little bit of reddish undertone, then it can look a little bit weird. But you can play around with that. I leave it at white at the moment, so we have more the grayish white ratio here. So, but that's actually it. When you're just zooming out here, it is really soft to paint on this. And when you render your model here with this kind of material, can push here on the BPR, then it also will have a really soft color. You can see, you see a little bit of cavity here, but it overall is more softer. And when you compare it with the Zbrush thing, you can see that it gets really close to this. This is a little bit more specular, and I think it has a little bit of bluish in it, but yeah, everything else is just the same. So I really love working with this kind of material for poly painting, and I really hope it helps you as well to get a better color for it. When I paint on it now, it is really nice material compared to for the sculpting material. This affects the colors a lot, so I don't really recommend you to paint on a, I would say, like sculpting material, because it will affect the colors a lot. So choose one which is bright and soft and don't have a lot of colors in it, so you get the best results in the end for skin colors and scales and whatever you want to paint on it. But yeah, that's it. I hope that helps, and we see us in the next video.